Mikey, I was thinking about it today. Like, can you imagine what it would be like to live in Ravnica and be part of the Rakdos Guild? It just seems like it'd be an absolute nightmare. What do you think?
Hey guys, welcome back to Hometown Commander, a podcast where we talk about Commander. I'm good. I would rather live like in Selesnya or, geez, even
almost anything else.
Simic, where I could like maybe drown a little bit before I get tortured for fun. I'm good.
Don't you want someone to throw an axe at your face while you're spinning around on a wheel?
And somebody's like, cheering that it may or may not hit you.
Do you know what irks me the most about the Rakdos clan? Do you know that people pay to go watch it?
Yeah.
Jace Beleren has attended those.
He had to have secret meetings with the other peoples, right?
Man, can you imagine having your secret meetings at a sadistic carnival? Anyway, welcome to episode 4.
Who's gonna know? No one will know.
You're gonna know.
My gosh. Hey guys, welcome back to Hometown Commander. Of course, with you as always is sorry so much for that ear-shattering laughter that you just had there. I'm Mikey. With me as always is
your boy Millzy.
Yes, for sure. Today we are doing as Millzy already said, we're doing our 4th episode of Head to Head. A little bit of a background for Head to Head. We take a commander, or like you heard in the last episode, and similar to this episode, we take a strategy archetype, or kind of a synergy that has been released over the past couple of sets. In this case, we're doing still Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. You love them Wolfie boys and those bloodsuckers. So we are still talking about those 2 sets, and we're super excited about this one, just like we have been for the past 3 episodes. It's 2 decks that both of us put together, and it's a bit of a strategy that we love to want to make work. I think it's funny that you opened the episode up with, wouldn't it be fun to live in the Ravnica Guild? Because listen, I am not a black player by no means, like a good one at least. I wish I was, because we can all agree that black is a good color in Magic. Like it does have good cards. I mean, for Pete's sake, we harped on Demonic Tutor for 30 minutes in our first episode.
I wouldn't call it 30 minutes, but it felt like it.
It did feel like it, and as a listener, I'm pretty sure you probably were also annoyed by it, and continue to get annoyed by it every time I say it. But it's still a really good card, and that's just one of thousands that are just super, super good in that color combination of black, and insert another color here. I think that black really is like kind of like white, where it is a really good supporting color. I think it works well in every other color. Like, we look at black-white, that can give you some life gain. We look at black-green, don't even need to talk about it. It's good. It can also give you life gain, sometimes better than black-white. You look at black-blue, gives you a huge amount of control. And something like today, which is what the 2 colors we'll be talking about, is black-red. And I love red so much in Magic. I love the Burny Burns of burns. I hate sideburns, but I love burns.
Yes, the burns that burn.
The burns that burn, exactly. And I feel like red-black can do that, and do that at a faster pace almost, with one of the mechanics that they have in this color combination. And I get really excited about it, because like I said, I want to become this red-black player I can't say that I want to become this red-black player. I want to feast more into the red-black combination, because I feel like it will make me a better player to use something like life more as a resource, rather than just like my crutch, more or less, like my please don't hurt me kind of thing. Because I feel like I do that a lot when I'm playing currently. If I get my life totaled down, I'll sit there and just freak out. What's interesting, I guess, is we actually had this earlier today when we had a couple of games. I was okay with taking 13 damage from you, but I can't apparently justify, subtracting 5 life from myself to play another spell.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I could get into that. And I think that something like this deck, or something of this archetype, can really help me become the black player that I want to become, or rather the red-black player that I want to become. I say that because this is uncharted territory for me. I don't know about you. I don't know.
For me as well.
I was about to say, I don't know if you've played Rakdos. I know you say... Actually, no.
Well, you've seen me play around Prosper.
Yes.
Which is a deck that I, for some reason, still can't figure out why I love. I don't know what it is, but... no, I mean, I really love the spectacle mechanic from Ravnica. I thought it was a ton of fun. It was an interesting idea. I've just never been able to make it work in Commander. But I think our subject today could be a ton of fun. This is a creature tribe that I haven't played a ton with, and I think this is an interesting way to go about it.
I agree. Okay, so just to kind of just ripping off that Band-Aid, we're going to be talking about the Bloodsuckers today. We're going to be talking about them vampires.
Not just vampires.
Whoa.
We're talking about the red-black blood strategy that we've seen introduced in Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow.
Listen, if
well, I guess just Crimson Vow. I don't think we saw that many blood tokens in
I don't think
Midnight.
we saw any.
I don't think we saw any at all.
No, it was just released in Crimson Vow. And if you listen to our last episode, which if you haven't, you should, because we talked about an archetype I built a deck around an archetype that was only released in Midnight Hunt, and it was Coven. And I struggled a little bit because there wasn't enough support for just Coven, but what was great is I could bring in these other cards around the human archetype that built that deck up to be valuable. Same with this. There's not a lot of support for just blood tokens, but there's enough vampires to bring that up enough.
There's a lot of years of vampires that we have to choose from.
Oh yeah, and especially since we have chosen the colors of red and black, there's plenty of them. Now, no, I'm sorry all you Markov lovers out there. We stayed away from old edgy boy Edgar because, listen, we all know that will be the best commander for vampires. It is done deal banana peel. Like, Magic themselves, or excuse me, Wizards of the Coast themselves have said, like, that will be the best vampire commander. Now, will there be something that comes out that is better than Markov? I will be scared to know what that would be, but cool. I'll be expecting it, and we'll embrace it wholeheartedly and push it to the side and not play it probably. But we chose two commanders that I'm pretty excited about, though. One of them I have played around with personally, which is actually an older version of this person, and Millzy chose the other approach to it that I am super excited and interested to see what exactly what thought process you put into this, what strategy you put into this. And
so our two choices for commanders.
Yes, please.
When we talked about this options, we have our Precon commander, Strafon, Maurer Progenitor.
Strafon.
And then we have our favorite edgelord vampire coming back, Anje or Angie or however you say it.
Dude, I just call her Angie because...
Maid of Dishonor, who of course had a previous commander who was very popular for the Madness Precon that came out in the past.
Yes, which is Anje, Angie, Anye, or however you say it. I'm going to call her Angie, so that's just what I'm going to say. Angie Falkenrath was her name, and she was cool.
So when we pull back the curtain, when we sat down to talk about this archetype, like we mentioned last episode, I thought it was really cool that we didn't fight over which side we wanted to take in this debate. You said you wanted Angie, and I said that's cool because I wanted to try Strafon. I don't know how much we're going to deal with precons in this head-to-head series, but I thought why not pick a commander that's from a precon and see maybe... My deck is not a take the precon and upgrade it type list. It's a, hey, what can I do with this precon commander? I did try my best to fit in some of the precon cards because I think some of them actually work pretty well. But my intention with my list was not to take the precon and upgrade it. It was, hey, what can I do more or less budget restricting, no budget restrictions on Strafon to make him fun. And you did the same thing with Angie. You said, how could we take Angie and make her a good blood commander? So our fight today, so to speak, is not on an archetype like last week was. We're not picking two different strategies to green white humans. In this episode, we're both playing with blood. We're just using two different commanders. How are we using blood as a as a strategy, right? That's what we're looking at today.
And before we introduce these commanders and tell you exactly what they do, I want you guys to know, as the listeners, no, we're not going to stray away from how we did with Tovalar or Runo and have one commander and build 2 decks around them too and kind of like go at it like that. We wanted to actually just give ourselves the challenge of something like this. So, we're playing, like Millzy said, with blood tokens. Maybe next time we'll play with just one certain person again. We just get super excited because we're both brewers that like to just make random decks. This is something that we just really enjoy doing. So if you are a person who was like, man, I only liked listening to the one commander thing, then don't worry,
we're going back to it soon.
Yes, it's still going to happen. And if you're a person that likes listening to 2 different commanders, then don't worry, that's probably going to happen some more too. We just have enjoyed doing both.
We sat down, to pull back the curtain, we sat down at the start of this series and we picked our 7 or 8 Crimson Vow Midnight Hunt Together commanders that we wanted to talk about before Kamigawa comes out. And on the list, I said we really should do something with Black Red Blood because people aren't going to do this archetype outside of how would you upgrade the precon.
Right.
Which, don't get me wrong, for new players, how to upgrade the precons are great episodes because players are buying those precons, right?
Yes.
And they want to know what the next step is for that. I love that, but that's not the content creator I want to be. I want to start playing around with what would I do with this commander. If you tell me, Millzy, here's your budget, or here's your relative budget, build this deck, how would you build it? That's what we wanted to do. I thought it would be cool if we took a different commander for this approach to see, are our lists similar? Do we play with blood the same way, or do we do it differently? And how would the 2 commanders kind of compare and contrast when it comes to how they use blood? And I thought that would be more fun than us doing just both of us building the precon. Which I'm not saying will never happen in the future. I'm sure there will be a future episode where we take a precon and we both upgrade it. Because that's going to be, maybe there's not a relative commander that we can compare it to, or there's no other way for us to do it. I just thought in this case, why not put the both blood commanders up against each other and see how our lists maybe differ or how our strategies differ, rather than just picking the same one. Like it was easy with Tovalar or Runo. They were easy to kind of pick them and compare and contrast with just them. I thought it'd be more fun to kind of flip the script a little bit and have some fun with 2 different commanders with the same strategy.
Let me tell you, we definitely built our decks very, very differently. We definitely have approached this with two different eyes, and that's great. So, Millzy, tell us about Strephon.
Strephon. As the listener out there, I like to think that Strephon's a little French, even though he probably isn't. I apologize to any French people out there I might offend with that, but I like to think that Strephon is a little French. But it is Strephon, Maurer Progenitor. He has flying,
which is great.
He is a 3/2 for 4, 2 a black and a red, for a 3/2 with flying. At the beginning of your end step, you create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn. The caveat says each player, not each opponent. So that's a big thing to remember with Strephon. It says each player, not each opponent. And it says whenever Strephon attacks, you may sacrifice 2 blood tokens. If you do, you can put a vampire card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn.
That's pretty sweet.
So we have 2 abilities of text. We have how to make blood tokens, and we have a way to spend blood tokens. So Mikey, why don't you read our friends Angie, or Angie?
So I have Angie, Maid of Dishonor. She is a 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, 4/5 legendary vampire creature. Whenever Angie, Maid of Dishonor, and or 1 or more other vampires enter the battlefield under your control, create a blood token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Then you can pay 2, then sacrifice another creature or a blood token, which if you don't know what a blood token does, it is a artifact token that says you can pay 1 colorless, tap it, discard a card, then sacrifice this artifact and draw a card. So, anyways, it says pay 2, or Angie says pay 2 colorless, sacrifice another creature or a blood token. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Mikey, not to nitpick, but I just want to confirm. It does say tap it. Okay, yeah, I apologize. The blood token does say tap it. I apologize. Go ahead.
You're fine.
I didn't see it in my notes, so I just wanted to make sure that you actually had to tap
No,
it.
yeah. So I was looking at Angie right here. Yeah. So yeah, you discard and tap it. I'll just go straight into what my strategy for this entire deck is for Angie. I went a madness route. I wanted to do something that gave both Angies just a cool feel and pay a little homage to the commander that was Angie Falconwrath as well.
You could argue one of the most popular vampire commanders in the past that isn't Edgar Markov, right? Angie Falconwrath, if you look on EDH Rec and you take a look at most vampire lists that are out there, is probably, I would argue, the second most popular vampire commander.
Nice.
Mostly because of the precon, but I mean also because of what she does.
So fun fact, I wasn't playing when Angie Falconwrath came out, that precon came out. I will say, if I was, I probably would have picked up that precon because it just seems like something that interests me.
It's also got some darn good value in it.
Oh, it definitely does. I've looked at it a couple of times. Excuse me. So, I went with a madness way, and if you don't know what madness is, madness, let me find a cool card for you. All right, cool. Here we go. Grave Scrabbler is actually not even a vampire, it's a zombie. It originally is a 2/2 for 3 colorless mana and 1 black, but it has a madness for 1 colorless and 1 black. And madness says if you discard this card, discard it into exile rather than putting it into the graveyard, correct? So when you do, you can cast it for its madness cost, or you can put it into your graveyard, but you're more or less going to just, cast
I think
it.
the really cool caveat, Mikey, about madness that I think a lot of people won't notice off rip, you are able to cast non-instant speed spells at instant speed with madness.
Yep.
Which I think is a very interesting thing that probably no one's thought about. I mean, if you played a madness deck, of course, you're going to take advantage of that. But that's something you wouldn't notice when you look at madness.
Right. So I like the idea of madness. I really, really like a lot of the cards that make a cheaper cost for me doing more work. I think that's fine, especially with something like a blood token. So here's kind of like the main strategy that I'm looking at. I want to try to create a blood token or a few blood tokens. I'm not necessarily going to be looking at Angie's second ability as the main focus, that pay to sacrifice another creature or a blood token, and then each opponent loses 2 life and I gain 2 life. I'll probably use that if I have enough blood tokens to worry about that. But mostly I'm looking for what the blood token actually does for me, and that's me discarding a card and then drawing a card. So here's the cool thing for you as a listener to kind of understand, is when I'm discarding the card, I want it to be a madness card. So it's not like I'm discarding anything. I get to cast something, hopefully for a cheaper cost. So if I'm looking at a card like this card right here is called Terminal Agony. It is a sorcery speed card for 2 colorless mana and 1 black, 1 red. It says, just straight up, destroy target creature.
So as a card without madness, you could argue not a very good removal spell.
Nope.
We have removal spells. You have removal spells for a Terminate, right? For black and a red that do that. You have Bedevil that does that for two black and red. There are a lot of removal spells that are better than that for 4 mana, but what's the caveat?
What's the caveat is madness cost is 1 black, 1 red. So it says, again, if you discard this card, discard it into exile. And when you do, you cast it for its madness cost. So when I'm discarding that card to draw my card, I'm now drawing a card and then casting a spell at cheaper cost. Oh, again, it's a sorcery card. I can do it at instant speed.
Because you can sacrifice the blood at instant speed, which basically allows you to activate madness at instant speed. Yep.
Exactly. So if there's a problem happening for me, this is becoming advantageous. And this is where the strategy really, really starts to ramp up and become very, very good for me. I actually don't know the exact number of madness cards I have. I have a bunch, though. I will count here in just a second of how many I actually have. But a lot of cards are just hilarious with the madness cost. Some of them are a little wonky, and I'll get into that in a second. But here's another one that I love to look at. It's called Call to the Netherworld. This was actually coming out of the Angie Falconwrath precon as well. It is 1 black for return target black creature card from your graveyard to your hand. But it also has madness again for 0. Rather than paying anything, I can just discard it and just say I cast it, and here I go grabbing whatever creature card I want out of my graveyard to my hand. And here's the great thing, Millzy. Say I don't have a Madness card in my hand, and I have to discard a creature card into my graveyard that doesn't have Madness. And then I pull this Call of Netherworld.
You can get it back?
I get it back. It seems like a lot of fun. My win strategy for this whole thing is to eventually build up the board, not with a bunch of vampires and then just start swinging away with vampires. Like, would that be cool? Of course. But what I'm really looking for is to get enough of those blood tokens out to really do take advantage of just cycling through the cards that I need, and then eventually getting to the real good meat and potatoes stuff like like Bloodline Keeper is a 2 colorless 2 black for 3/3 flying. You can tap it, put a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying onto the battlefield, and then you can pay 1 black, transform Bloodline Keeper, activate this ability only if you control 5 or more vampires. Hey, guess what? We're playing a vampire tribal deck, so who's going to probably get that effect?
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. And on its backside, it's a 5/5 flying, and then other vampire creatures you control get +2/+2. This is where having a bunch of vampires on the field would be cool. And using something like Bloodline Keeper would be awesome, but just a 5/5 with flying is pretty great in of itself. Then again, I can tap it again, put another 2/2 black vampire creature on the board, which guess what? It's not a 2/2, it'd be a 4/4. So I mean, pump spells are great and whatnot, but now I'm looking at a card that is just hilarious. So I have a card, 2 of them actually, they're right next to each other, which is very funny. One of them is probably one that a lot of people would be like, why is this guy in here? So it's a demon. That's why you're probably thinking that. Named Lord of the Void. It's 4 colorless, 3 black. It's a 7/7 flyer. And it says when Lord of the Void deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library, then put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control. So we're hitting you with 7 through the air. If you can block 7 through the air, great. If you can't, oh boy, this is going to be fun. Because that means I get to go and more or less I'm going to be attacking somebody I know who's going to have a creature good enough for me to put onto the field for myself. And just try to do that over and over again. Then I have this thing right above it that you called me, I don't even remember. What did you call me yesterday?
Called you gross.
You called me gross. This is true.
I say that in all transparency. I actually considered it in my list. I just didn't put it in there.
So this man is the Elder Giant from the newest Theros time of Theros. Beyond Dead? Is that
Theros Beyond Death? Yeah.
Beyond Death. Sorry, I didn't play that time, so my bad for getting the names wrong. This man's name is Croxa. How do you say it?
Most people in Standard said Croxa. But again, it's one of those things where we've never really gotten an official pronunciation. So
well, he is Croxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. He is a 1 black, 1 red for 6/6. But guess what? When he enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice it, unless it escaped. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, then each opponent who didn't discard a card this way loses 3 life.
No, it's each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way.
Sorry, I did say that backwards. Or not backwards, but wrong. But they lose 3 life. So not only am I trying to hit you with a 6/6, which is a big boy, now I'm making sure that you start discarding cards out of your hand, and if you aren't discarding non-land cards...
So if they pitch a land, they're taking 3.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. I think that's right, yeah. I need to play with it. I need this card. Anyways, the biggest thing that I'm looking at is discarding it, actually, because I would rather it escape. For it's 2 black, 2 red, and I have to exile 5 other cards from my graveyard, which I should be able to do with the amount of instants, the amount of sorceries, and I'm playing a bunch of vampires that I'm looking to swing with, because why not? They give me value. I have a few in here that have trample, and if they do damage, they give me, guess what? Blood tokens, which we are working towards this entire time. But if I escape him, he comes back in, he gets to stay onto the battlefield, and I have a 6/6 who is just being a menace to society, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with that.
Menace to society.
Menace to society. Millzy, what is your strategy? What are you looking for with Mr. Strefon?
So, I did the thing, Mikey.
Oh no.
I decided to go for an aggressive attacking vampire deck. What a surprise, right?
Wow, my mind is blown.
So, my whole goal here was Strefon really rewards us for attacking
Yeah.
and putting vampires down. Now, of course, we want to try to cheat some big vampires down for free because it only costs us 2 blood tokens to do. But there's a lot of great vampires out there to choose from, man. I had a good time going through Scryfall and just like trying to find really cool vampires that I could put down. I got to play some of my favorite vampires that have ever existed in Magic. Also got to play a lot of new vampires. I tried my best to use a lot of the new vampires that create blood.
Yeah.
Just because we get to do so much great stuff with blood. I went ahead and tried to use blood. I have a little bit of Your Madness in there, but it's not my main way. I also tried to use blood to drain my opponents and gain life. I have some cards in here like Cranial Plating and Nettle Cyst that are going to pump my creatures for every artifact that I have. Remember, blood tokens are artifacts.
Yes.
So it could potentially pump our creatures even higher. The cool part about some vampires is some of them have lifelink, so we can attack and get life back.
Yeah.
I didn't go too hard into the drain and gain life strategy. I maybe could have done that and played a Sanguine Bond or some Sanguine or Exquisite Blood or Sanguine Bond. I didn't go too hard into that strategy. I really tried my best to try to play vampires that are going to give us attacking advantage. And if they're not going to give us attacking advantage, when I drop them in off of Strefon's ability, they're just going to do some good damage, or they're going to be disadvantageous for our opponents. The other thing is, of course, just trying to use our artifacts that we have sitting on the battlefield to our advantage. One of the cards that I'm playing that I really like in this list is a artifact. It's called Inspiring Statuary. What it says is that non-artifact spells you have improvise. What that means is you can tap any of your blood tokens for 1 colorless mana to help pay for your spells. So even if we need to hard cast some of those vampires, we can use our blood tokens as kind of mana rocks.
Nice.
To help cast our spells. I really tried to showcase blood as best I could, trying to use a lot of the new creatures that care about blood and kind of use them to our advantage. But really, in all reality, the blood is there in a lot of ways to kind of let Strefon use us to put some pretty gross vampires down for free. I also really got to use probably my other favorite vampire from this set, Olivia, Crimson Bride. Once we get her out, we can start pulling vampires. If we're discarding vampire cards with the blood tokens, we can get them back with Olivia, which is a cool way to do it. The other way that kind of I have some synergy for Olivia is Yeheni, Undying Partisan. Lets us sacrifice creatures to make it bigger. Well, we could go get them back with, I'm playing Reanimate, I'm playing Victimize, just so that we can go get some of those vampires back if they ever get killed. But also we have Olivia, to
That new Olivia is such a good card. Okay, I can't say it's such a good card.
One of the big cards really cool to me when I was looking at this list that got me really excited, because I think it's such an interesting card. And yes, it is one card in the list, but it's Scion of Opulence. It's a 2 and a red for a Vampire Noble 3/1. It says whenever it or another non-token vampire you control dies, create a treasure token. Which treasure's always great, right?
Yeah.
And then you pay a red, sacrifice 2 artifacts, exile the top card of your library, you can play that card this turn. I like it because, remember, the blood tokens are artifacts that are sitting on the battlefield. We're probably going to have a ton of them.
Hopefully.
So in our main one, we can pay a red, sack 2 of our blood tokens, maybe hit a big creature off the top, maybe we hit a removal spell, maybe we hit a mana rock or something like that. So I like Sign of Opulence because it's going to give us some treasures, which, Mikey, we're in red-black. We don't always have a ton of mana. Treasures are great because they're going to help us with our strategy. but they're also going to push us forward in playing around with blood. I tried my best to include, like I said, I tried my best to really include every new creature that was good that cared about blood, because I think the more blood tokens we have, the better we're going to do. We're really going to push our blood strategy going forward. My other favorite blood card that I hope really works is an enchantment. It's called Arterial Alchemy. It's 2 and a red for an enchantment. It says when it enters the battlefield, you get a blood token for each opponent you have. So hopefully that's 3. So that same turn, if you have Strafon in that, you could sack 2 for Strafon, and you'd have enough blood to put a creature down. But it also says blood tokens you control are equipment in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equip 2. So if we run out of cards or we're running low on plays to make, we can start equipping our blood to our creatures and start pumping them up for our combat. The other card that I feel like goes really well with Strafon, because it helps us, is I am playing 1 shrine in this deck, Sanctum of Stone Fangs, because it says at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. Well, I only play 1, so it's just going to drain my opponents for 1. I'm going to gain 1, and now I'm getting 3 blood at the end of the turn because 3 of my opponents lost life.
That's pretty great.
So I don't even need to do combat. If let's say I can't attack that turn, I'm still getting 3 blood at the end of the turn because
that's a free drain, yeah.
But I'm also playing, removal like Feed the Swarm, which is going to cause me to lose life, which is then going to get me a blood for myself at the end of the turn because I lost life. So really my whole strategy is getting the blood and trying to use the blood not just as discard and draw, but also as how can I manipulate my artifacts to do more for me, in other ways. So I really tried to use blood as a complete package instead of just the Madness route. Even though I think the Madness route is really important, I was trying to kind of come at it from every side, because as well as I do, your deck's 99 cards, right? You're never guaranteed to see a certain card in your deck,
right?
So I tried to pick 2 or 3 little sub blood strategies, so that if I don't hit a big creature to drop with Strafon out of my hand, maybe I can find another sub strategy in my deck that works well, and then that way we always kind of have something that's moving along.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I like your idea of it all. Strafon really just seems interesting, but he also just seems like not like overpowered. I'm trying to think of like the word for him. He just seems solid. That's the word I was looking for. He seems solid, and not saying Angie doesn't. I think Angie is also solid. I think you could put either one of these in the commander slot and they'd be fine. You could put either one of these in 99. Ha, look at that. We both have them
in each other's 99.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's really, really interesting what route you could go. And this is where, at the very beginning of it, I said, this is where I wish I could be more of a red-black player, because we're seeing more of an artifact-based kind of strategy for red and black that's not so much artificer style.
Yeah.
It's more of like, hey, I have these treasures, they're going to give me mana, or hey, I have these blood tokens, they're going to give me cards, or so on and so on. And we kind of saw this with AFR when what's her name, Colleen, is that the
Colleen? Yeah,
Colleen, who's also, no, she's not a vampire, she's an elf.
She is not a vampire. She's I don't know, but anyway, she cares about
treasures, and she says, if you spin a treasure token to bring in a creature, that creature
comes with an extra counter. Yeah,
it comes with a +1/+1 counter. 1 dice is nice. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. It rhymes.
Yeah,
1 dice is nice.
I think Mikey, the other good part about the color combination is we have some solid removal in these 2 colors.
I know?
It was actually hard to pick removal spells to go down from the 30 removal spells I wanted to play down to the 6 or 7 that I actually played.
Oh yeah, man. There is just some good value in just removing creatures off the battlefield. One of my favorites, it's a red spell. It's called Blasphemous Act, dealing 13 damage to each creature. That's pretty good. That's pretty nice. One of, I think, our favorite spells from this year that has been released is, I would consider it removal. Yeah, you can probably say it's removal. Is the because it is the Meat Hook Massacre.
Yeah, good old Meat Hook, baby.
Whenever you can minus X to something, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I know you expressed before we started the episode that you were surprised that I didn't have Meat Hook Massacre in here.
A little bit, yeah.
2 reasons I didn't put Meat Hook in. One, there are better board wipes.
Yeah.
Of course, and I didn't, because I'm playing more the artifice. I'm trying to combat this in a more artificer strategy in some ways. I needed the slots for the things. Yeah. The second is I am not playing, even though I have Blood Artist in my list, I am not playing the Aristocrats route. So as much as I like Meat Hook, and I would advise you put Meat Hook in the deck if you want to take it more in the Aristocrats route, I just worry that newer players are going to use Meat Hook wrong. You're going to end up losing your board in the process,
right,
and then you're not going to be able to rebuild it. I think if you use Meat Hook the right way, it is one of the single best removal enchantments that exist. But you have to be careful with how and when you use it, you know? For
sure. I mean, you're also looking at the guy that has more or less 2 lightning bolts in his deck. That would be me. Because I have actual lightning bolt, and then right above it I have a card called Fiery Temper, which is a 1 colorless 2 red for literally the exact same thing that lightning bolt does, which is deals 3 damage to target creature or player. But its madness cost is 1, so hey-oh.
It's always good when you can get a lightning bolt effect for 1 red.
I was about to say, if I can bolt something for 1 red every day of the week, I'll take it. I love this color combination. I really need to sit down and actually either use this deck. I don't know if I want to use this deck. Like, for me personally, I don't know if it's something I could be good with. I guess so, since my brain went to this, but I really need to sit down and actually put together a red-black Rakdos deck to see what it could do with not really necessarily our playgroup, but with my playstyle. Because we've seen me build up a board a little bit and then have a nice little mid-rangey feel. We've seen me, unfortunately, build a little Voltrani with Feather and stuff like that. But I would love to see how I could deal with cycling through cards. And like I said at the beginning of it all, you know, with black, you're using life as a good resource. Like, yeah, you're as a valuable resource in black. And I think that would just be fun. I'm trying to think of some good combinations that I could make with this. What are some good combinations you have with yours?
So some of my really big combos, I try to put some really big vampire creatures that we can drop down with Strefon for free that are really going to give us big effects. So the first one is Anawan the Ruined Sage. It's a legendary vampire 4/3 for 5. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. So the next turn on the table, you know, we start getting rid of some of our opponent's creatures. We have Drana, the Last Blood Chief from our most recent trip to Zendikar. When she attacks, the defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in our graveyard, and we get to return it back to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Hopefully, if we're looting and drawing, hopefully we have some vampires in our yard for people to choose from.
Yep.
We have...
Of course, you have Olivia Crimson Bride,
which would be great to drop down for free, right? Now, you won't get her ability when you drop her down for free from Strefon, because you only get a when X attacks ability when you declare it as an attacker. If it comes in after the declaration, the ability doesn't go off, unfortunately. Huh. But another cool creature that was included in the deck is Malacare Bloodwitch, 5 mana for a 4/4, flying protection from white. It says when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way.
That's pretty good.
So that's a pretty good bomb. I mean, you're dropping it in to attack, and remember, it gets indestructible when it drops in. We have Nurkana Revenant, 6 mana for a 4/4. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, you get an additional black. And for a black mana, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. I mean, no, it's not a threat when you drop it down to attack, but on every future turn or the rest of the turn, that's a lot, right?
That is a lot, yeah.
You have Olivia's Attendants, 6/6 for 6 with Menace.
What the menace?
and it says whenever it deals combat damage, create that many blood tokens, which is already great for our strategy, right?
Because we're looking for blood.
And then for 3, it'll deal 1 damage to any target. And then those are all the big... and then the last one is just Twilight Profit, of course, from Rivals of Ixalan, flying and getting your upkeep if you have the City's Blessing, which means you have 10 or more permanents. Reveal the top. Each opponent loses X and you gain X, where X is that card's CMC. So I tried to pick a lot of vampires that give us advantage kind of on our push. I'm also happy that I can play one of my favorite vampire cards of all time, which is Drana from Battle for Zendikar, of course, one of the sets that I started playing Magic in. And that says Drana has flying first strike. Whenever Drana liberated Malacare deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So the best part here is, remember, Drana has first strike. If your opponent doesn't block her, she does her damage first and puts a +1/+1 counter on every other creature that you're attacking with, and now your attack's even better, right? Wow. Because she's doing her damage first.
Oh, wow. I was not even thinking about that.
My goal is just to try to get a really good mix of vampires that I could drop down for free, vampires that would be easy for Olivia to get back from our graveyard, as well as just vampires that give us... Mostly, I was trying to find flying vampires so I could get that advantage.
Yeah, flying is always great.
And push our strategy, kind of forward in that way. I am playing a couple looting cards, like I'm playing Unexpected Windfall, I'm playing Thrill of Possibility, and I'm playing Faithless Looting, mainly to load the graveyard for Victimize or Reanimate, and they're there to load the graveyard for Olivia, or Drana, if you can find them and get them out. Then you can kind of load those vampires into your graveyard and hopefully get them back. If you don't have any other way to, if I wanted to try to get, let's say I have Strafon and Olivia both on the battlefield, I could get more than one vampire into play during combat. One from Strafon and then one from Olivia.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, the whole way I built it was just trying to really take advantage of combat in a color combination that doesn't normally take advantage of combat.
No, I think you did a really good job of it. I like the idea of getting Strafon and Olivia down and then just kind of getting the most value out of the vampires that you're about to put onto the battlefield. And it's funny that you say if you don't get to them or anything like that. I think you'll be able to hopefully find Olivia or something good enough for it with the wonderful tutors that you have in here.
Well, remember, blood draws us cards.
And I was about to say, and the blood that draws you cards.
So it's not just, well, if I don't have Olivia in my top 15 cards, my strategy doesn't work. Remember, we loot with the blood tokens.
Yep.
We are in black, the best single color for tutoring in Magic, as well as we have other types of cards, like I said, those looting type effects where you can draw and discard then draw.
Right.
So we have a lot of opportunities to kind of get through our deck and find it hopefully.
Yes, I think both of our decks are really, really shining from that. But I think that's the blood strategy. Really, is just what I keep saying is cycling through. It's not actually what cycling does in Magic, but it's getting through your deck, trying to find the value that you need as quick as you possibly can. And if that means you have to pitch, a blood artist, okay, then I pitch a blood artist. Like, no, my strategy is not going for the drain. My strategy isn't going for the I need you out for my aristocrat, whatever. What I'm really pitching you for is so I can go find my Olivia, so I can go find my my blood vial purveyor. Good Lord, how do you say that? Purveyor. Hey, look at that. We know the English language. It's a fun thing. Like, that's a 5/6 flying flample
gives
boy.
Your opponent's blood, which you think would be a bad thing.
But then go for it.
When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each blood token defending player controls.
Who cares if I'm playing a blood token deck and you're playing a blood token deck? Like, that's even better for you. Like, if I'm playing a blood token deck and you have this guy out, oh big boy. Oh no. That's nasty.
I'm including, to peel back the curtain, when I said Stefan for which of the two commanders I wanted to take a look at, I did consider the partners that came in the precon.
Yeah.
But I could not make them work. But I did keep Camber in the deck. Camber, the Plunderer for 3 and a black for a 3/4 lifelink. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, you gain a life and create a blood. I still feel like that's very good.
Oh, yeah.
And it still definitely benefits our strategy. I apologize. I don't have Lorene, the diversion, his partner, pulled up. But it just didn't fit the strategy.
I actually don't have either one in my deck. I don't think I have Camber. I don't think I put Camber in mine. I didn't, no. But I guess I just really wasn't considering it at all. Because I was probably thinking, okay, if I can't make Lorene work, then I don't want Camber in the deck as well.
I pulled Lorene up just because I want to be fair and mention it. It's Lorene the diversion, 2 and a red for a 3/3 with first strike. And you pay 2, sacrifice an artifact or creature, and then you go to target creature, which means they have to attack next turn, and if possible, they have to attack an opponent other than you.
Yeah.
I like it, and yes, we have the artifacts, right? We have the blood tokens to sacrifice.
Yeah.
My problem with Lorene, and I think as a listener, you're going to argue, yeah, but when you play one, you go get the other for free and get it into your hand. True, yeah, it's a nice way to search something.
Right.
I just feel like there's better vampires in slot than Lorene, and that was my thing.
Yeah, so that was the same with me. Obviously, I went, what is the big value I could bring in rather than one of those two. So I'm looking at I look back at Croxa and I just think, okay, yeah, he's just better and cheaper.
The other thing I just realized, Lorene's not a vampire.
Well, that's another thing that I was looking at.
So that's another thing that probably would affect my decision.
That affected my decision.
Whereas Camber is a vampire. So that was my other thing, was let's make sure we're really paying attention to the tribal aspect of it, because some of our cards care about vampires, right?
Yep.
Olivia cares about, well, she doesn't. She says target. But some cards in our deck actually care about them being vampires. So let's make sure that we keep the vampires. Like, I don't know about...
like your commander.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. So, I mean, I like the different combo strategies that we have here. I'm going to continue to say this. I'm going to become a broken record today with this episode, because I just get so excited about black-red. I guess I just need to either buy this precon, which may or may not happen, I really don't know, or try to find maybe the old Angie Madness precon and play it just to see how it feels. I don't know. I just get super excited about it, and then I think I get bogged down because I get so overwhelmed with what the color black has to offer for the strategies, the synergies, and the overall just goodness that it brings. Yeah. And I feel like I can't play that. I feel like I'm not a good enough player to play it. And like I said, but this just gets me super excited talking about this, looking at both these decks, understanding the strategy more, and just seeing what I can do with it. It's like you always say, you want Stefan, listen to me. You want Prosper to work so much. How many Prosper decks have you made? Just ideas of a deck.
Iterations of the deck, at least 24.
Okay, so yeah.
And in fact, the madness aspect of this deck just made me want to add madness to Prosper, because I'm like, maybe that's part of the thing that's going to make it work. I don't know about you, listener, but Mikey, you can tell me if you have. Do you ever look at a color combination and you think of one commander right away, and you just want to make that commander work because that commander is that color combination for you? Unfortunately, right now, Prosper is Rakdos to me. Yeah. And I can't wrap my brain around any other commander until I make it work the way I want it to. And I know that pigeonholes me as a brewer, but my thought is it's something I'm doing wrong. It's there's something I'm doing, but I think the thing that worries me, only thing that worries me about these decks, I love our decks on view. They look really cool. I think they really do vampires justice while playing with the different strategies that we have. I just worry that this list is a little opening hand dependent. That's the one thing that I've always kind of dreaded about black-red decks, or black decks in general, is they can be very opening hand dependent, and this one worries me. You really need you really need those mana rocks, you really need that stuff early, otherwise we may not even get to our commander quickly.
I saw this early when I first started playing the game of Magic with the color black, when a card came out, it was in a lot of standard decks, and if you know where I'm going with this, cool. If you don't, well, even better. And that card was Thoughtseize. When that card is in your opening hand, that game went completely different than if that card was not in your opening hand. And especially if you had the first turn priority, or if you had, even if you had the second turn, like, you're fine. You're still playing Thoughtseize turn 1. Like, that card really, really stood out as, if it's in your hand at the very beginning, great. And if it's not, good luck, kind of thing. Not that a deck was completely surrounded by just that one card, but it was good. It was really good. And I think that's the same thing here. Like, if one of the tutors is not in my hand, yikes.
Well, I'm going to go a step further. I think if you don't have a mana rock in your opening hand, I might not keep that hand unless you have like 4 lands.
Well,
like,
yeah.
The problem that we're going to have is that we have card draw, which helps, right? If I have a Faithless Looting or something like that, I might keep that opening hand. But man, we are going to have a tough time getting mana quickly. And so I think we're going to need to prioritize either a tutor or a mana rock or something like that in our opening hand, so that we can get our strategy moving in the right direction. If not, I worry we flounder. Yep. I worry that we don't have the traction to get going in the right direction. And with how good some commanders are at pushing their strategy forward when they hit the board, if we don't get our commander down turn 3 or turn 4, or get our strategy online, how are we going to fare at a table with 3 other decks who have their strategies online already?
Yeah, I think, the card number is going to be there. Like, your hand is going to be full of cards. Like, we're going to get that with our blood tokens of discarding, drawing cards, discarding, drawing cards. We're going to get the value that we need, but are you going to have the gas to keep pushing that, pressure? If you don't have the mana, then you can't play that card. Like, it's just as simple as that. Like, you need the mana, and I think this is where I really want to be a better black player, because I know there is something there I'm not seeing or not understanding that makes black just so good. And maybe it's more artifacts, which I have added, 6 artifacts into a commander deck. Doesn't sound like that much, but it actually,
it's a lot.
That kind of is. Yeah, I have 6 artifacts in
what we
my
have
deck.
to remember is that in this color combination, we don't have ramp spells.
No,
we don't have any ability to go get lands outside of artifacts or lands that do that. You know what I mean? So we need those mana rocks. We need those small cards like or even a card that you're playing that I'm not, a Dark Ritual or something like that, that gives you bonus mana. Stuff like that becomes huge. I think this is why, listener, if you go look at a lot of black lists or red lists in this color combination, you see a lot of people playing Mana Crypt. You see a lot of the Moxes, the Mox Ambers and the Mox Opals and stuff like that, because we don't have access to the ramp that makes green so quick at kind of building, right? So more people rely on those high dollar artifacts that give you mana, because we just don't have access to it as quickly as other colors do.
So, I have 6 artifacts. So if I play those 6 artifacts, I don't know how I have 6 artifacts in my hand. But if I do, and then if I play the old little goblin pirate boy himself, Dockside Extortionist, which I have in my deck, I know you don't have in yours. I know it doesn't play to my vampire strategy as well, but it does give me that gas that I need.
Yeah.
If it's there, of course. We had this conversation earlier today about Dockside that, if the artifacts aren't there, then he is dead in your hand. Like, he is a 2-mana 1/2. That is just meh. Nah. Like, because there's not very many games where there's no artifacts onto the field, but there can be a game where maybe only 1 or 2 are out, and then you're like, oh yes, Dockside Extortionist, and then it's like you just got 2 treasure tokens. That's 2 extra mana for 1 time. It's not like you went and ramped for 2 lands that stay with you forever.
I think Dockside's a staple because look at the popular ramp in non-green colors, Smothering Tithe, stuff like that, where we're just dumping artifacts onto the battlefield to try to use later. Sure, your opponent could sack all their treasures in response to Dockside and play some spell to stop you from getting the artifacts, but most of the time in an average game on a table that doesn't have a ton of green decks, there's going to be a solid amount of artifacts out there, and Dockside is going to get you something.
Yeah.
I think my true problem with Dockside is you have to know when to play it. Mm-hmm. It's not just to play it, it's when to play it. When do you capitalize the most? As a fun segue, because we all love good segues, we're playing black, which means we're playing some expensive cards, because if there's anything black is good for, it's having expensive staple cards, right? So let's talk about the expensive cards in our list. We're both playing 2 tutors. I don't know if you're playing the second tutor.
I'm playing 3, technically. I am playing Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and then I'm playing what I would consider a tutor is Entomb.
Okay, yeah, but not a true tutor in the sense, but basically, if you're putting it in your graveyard and you can get it back, it's more or less but we're both playing the 2 biggest tutors in black, being Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor, because they both are very good at what they do.
They good.
They're also both pricey.
Oh, we've harped on them for too long. Demonic Tutor.
I know that they're not cheap, but because we both need to find our combo pieces and find them consistently, they're what we need to use. Now, thankfully, there are tutors that are a little more budget friendly. You have Diabolic Tutor that's 4 mana. It's a little bit cheaper in cost. I mean, real world cost, not mana cost.
Money cost.
You have my favorite budget alternative to Demonic Tutor, which is Scheming Symmetry. Came out in M20. You pick another player and you both go search for a card. It's good. Just remember, when you're allowing someone else to go search for a card, you need to pick who that is very carefully.
Yes, for sure.
And then the other option I listed as a budget alternative is Wishclaw Talisman. It's an artifact from...
hey, I just pulled this earlier.
I want to say Throne of Eldraine.
It is, yes.
You tap it, go find a card, and then you give it to an opponent of your choice. My advice, use it as a political piece. Say, hey, I will give it to you if you give it back to me. And kind of, use it to make a friend at the table. I don't think either of them are better than those 2 tutors, but I think they're relatively safe options if you don't have a Demonic Tutor or you don't have a Vampiric Tutor.
It's funny that you say, use it as a politic kind of piece. I see Red Black being a pretty decent, politic kind of style of play. You have, the strategies of Goad. You have, oh, jeez, I just lost it. I can't remember the other stupid strategy. I think Goad is literally the only one I was actually thinking of. You have Goad, though, which actually is pretty great as a strategy in of itself. I mean, not great, but it's
depending on the table, Goad can be very good.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think it's interesting as a politic style. But yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. You got both tutors that are super expensive.
The card I had that I realized wasn't as expensive as it is Twilight Profit. I actually told you this before we recorded the episode. Twilight Profit's sitting at about $40. I didn't expect that. I have one, so I never considered, because I had my Black-White Clerics list, so I never actually considered how much it actually costs, but it is very expensive. I love Twilight Profit for the deck, but my recommendation would be, if it's too expensive, drop it for a Butcher Malacare would probably be just as good, or any high-cost vampire that has a big effect is probably worth it. Maybe like an Immersturm Predator, or something that is a good big mana card that you want to drop for free with Straflon. That would be my advice. I know Twilight Profit is not a cheap card. I just think it's way too good at what it does to not consider it.
I also have a super expensive card. Probably, I think it's my most expensive card. Like I said earlier, the Meat Hook Massacre. It's a great card. I don't need it in the deck, really. I put it in there because it's just really strong, and it kind of helps if I need to go more of a combat style. I can get some drain out of it all, and it's just really nice.
Well, you also have Dockside.
I also have Dockside.
The king of red staples. But
the king of red staples, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Dockside, as you said, it goes well. If you don't have the money for a Dockside, I would say just put another vampire in its slot.
Put another vampire, or find another mana rock to go there.
Yeah.
Just do something that gives you ramp, maybe would probably be the best thing. For Meat Hook, honestly, you could just put Murder in here and you'd be fine. Destroy target creature, you'd be okay.
Maybe even a I know I'm picking an expensive card for another expensive card. If you have a Toxic Deluge, it would do a similar thing.
Yeah. Or if you want that -X, you can do Eyes of the Beholder. I know it's like a 6-drop.
Or like a Profane command. Profane command does a very similar thing. It's a black instant. That's an X spell that does a lot of, has more modes on it, so it would do different things.
Yep.
So I think, Mikey, I think our last question we have to ask ourselves is, would we build this deck?
Oh man.
So you kind of hinted at my Rakdos problem, which is that I am so entrapped on making Prosper work that it's kind of stopped me from building any other Rakdos lists. I am willing to proxy this deck and try it.
Yeah.
I am willing to at least try it once or twice and see what my feelings are on it. But I don't see myself building vampires. It's just not a tribe that I've ever been in love with. The one vampire deck that I have been tinkering around with is Olenda, so Orzhov vampires. It's a lot more life gain. It's a lot more kind of playing around with that.
It seems like a lot of fun for sure.
It looks fun. It looks interesting.
You can play the new.
If I had to pick a black-red vampire commander, it would probably be something like this.
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be a ton of fun. It's just vampires have never been a tribe that I love, so it's just not a deck I would consider. But I would at least try it.
I would definitely try it as well. I keep on trying to find that perfect for me Rakdos commander. I just can't find it yet. Maybe it comes with Kamigawa, we never know. But I think Angie would be a lot of fun to try as well. I agree with that. I mean, you have Strafon, of course, but I don't know. I like the idea of exiling a card and then playing it that turn, or cycling through my deck and finding the value. I do. I like that idea. I may have to just bite my tongue and just be like, you can play this. Stop being scared to play this.
For the new players out there, I think this precon is very good.
Yes.
I think it has a lot of good reprints in it, and it's worth picking up if you're looking for a first precon to buy and you're interested in the vampire strategy. It's not a bad place to start.
No.
That being said, though, links to both of our deck lists is in the description, right? Our Moxfield account. You will see not only these deck lists, but every previous episode on our Moxfield account, as well as every Saturday when we release our head-to-head. You'll see our new deck lists up on Moxfield, as well as come on over to the Discord.
Oh, snap, we have a Discord?
We do have a Discord. Come on over to the Discord with us. There's a head-to-head discussion section of our Discord. We'd love to chat with you on Saturday when this episode comes out. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate. Tell us why we're wrong for building these decks. I don't know. Everybody always finds something. And come hang out with us. It's kind of funny to me. I've been in so many Discords in the past and so many other servers. I'm excited to just have our own community.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily because we're the hosts and so we are celebrities, but I want a more casual kind of crowd.
Yeah.
And a more people like us who view Commander like we do, and we can just chat and have fun. It's not as much about this is the most optimal card in slot, and why wouldn't you play this? And don't get me wrong, there's a community for that, but it's not us.
I feel like you're talking about a certain community that's not so much purple of an app; it's more of an orange app.
But Mikey, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither do I. Yes, go check out these deck lists. Hopefully, you find them just somewhat entertaining, somewhat interesting. Maybe you have tried to consider Rakdos like we have, and this is it. This is your ticket, your golden ticket to the chocolate factory that is Rakdos. And hopefully an axe will not be thrown at you while you spin on a will, because if that's the case, then please come to the Discord, tell us about it, and also tell us about how you enjoyed a nice cup of Rogue Energy. Because if you didn't enjoy that Rogue Energy, let me tell you, you can go to rogueenergy.com and that lovely link in the description, use the hometown code at checkout.
Get some percentage off.
Get some percentage off. I still don't remember how much I got off. I was looking for the email earlier.
So, Mikey, at the end of our last 3 previous head-to-head episodes, we did a little bit of teasing.
Oh, yeah.
At the next episodes.
Ooh, please.
So, I think we've planned for 3 to 4 more head-to-head episodes about Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow.
Yes.
So come on back next time when you get to the No, I think we've hit what I think we agree are some of the more popular strategies and deck ideas from Midnight Hunt, from Crimson Vow. from the next 3 or 4, I think we're excited to go a little more left field. I think we're going to try some more fun stuff, some stuff that probably isn't ever going to make it within the top 50 of EDH Rec.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens, but we're aware that we picked some of the more popular commanders up front. Now we want to go explore some more, have some fun, and
as we call it, the beautiful jank.
The beautiful jank. I looked something up, and I just want to end the episode with this.
Yeah.
I am currently on EDH Rec under the Vampire Tribe.
Oh, I see it.
So if you've never been to EDH Rec, please go to edhrec.com. Fantastic website. It will help you with any deck that you're building. But you can actually search by, I searched by theme and then vampires. Currently, Strafon sits at number 2 for decks built for vampires.
Wow. Am I about to go buy the pre-con? So
I think
Strafon?
No one in the world is surprised that Edgar Markov sits at number 1.
Again, I started with that as well, saying that Edgar will probably be the top one for a while. How much does that card sit at again? What the price for Edgar?
Markov is currently over $100.
That's so stupid.
Without saying, I don't know if you saw the numbers. Can you guess what number 3 is?
Well, I saw it, unfortunately.
Okay, who is number 3?
Olivia.
She's not.
Wait, what?
Alenda the Dusk Rose is at 458 decks.
Oh, wow.
Is number 3.
Okay.
I think she's here just because she's ranked higher as a card on EDH Rec.
Yeah.
But she's at, Alenda's at number 3. Vito is at number 4 with 437 decks.
Wow.
Just very interesting to me. But anyway, I just thought it was fun to look up the Vampire Tribe and see. Strafon being number 2 doesn't surprise me since the precon just came out.
Yeah, so everybody's picking it up and everybody's probably editing it just a tiny bit maybe or something like
My
that.
only caveat to that is that only certain websites are tabulated for these results. My biggest gripe with EDH Rec to end the episode is that tapped out does not count.
Yeah.
I think if tapped out, and the other thing that the EDH Rec guys have said is that their stats do not count any deck that isn't on the isn't online.
Yeah.
So if someone has a deck in their deck box and they've never put it into an app,
how they gonna
obviously it's not going to get tabulated. Yeah. So my guess is the old Anjay is probably a lot higher than she is on here, and I would guess probably that Alenda or even Olivia Valderin are probably a little bit higher than they sit on here, but we don't know.
Who's to say?
But on that depressing note, no,
it's perfectly fine. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode of talking about blood. Who doesn't like talking about blood? But guys, gals, boys and girls of all ages, we hope you have a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good car ride, good sleep time.
Good time in the gym.
I'm sorry, if you're sleeping right now,
that's awkward.
It's very awkward. That we are talking.
We're not that soothing of people. That's very
we're
awkward.
really not. Like our laugh will like screech your ears every once in a while. I don't see how you're sleeping, but have a wonderful evening anyway. We'll see you guys next time.